So first up, we're measuring our hip mobility, and this just involves standing up against the wall and spreading your legs as far as possible. So you start by I used a piece of measuring tape here. You're going to put your toes on the measuring tape and just try to go out as wide as possible. Make sure your upper body isn't supporting you, so you kind of keep it close to the mirror but not leaning on the mirror. And you just try to go out as wide as possible until you can't hold it anymore, and you measure the distance between your heels, not your toes. For me, I measured about 70 inches. The next measurement is arm span. So we're going to measure basically how wide your arm span is in addition to your height. So there I just had some chalk on my finger, marked a point, and my arm span measured about 68 inches. The next exercise is a classic measurement of how hard you can pull, basically on a bar or a jug. And so for this, you chain some weight onto you and you try to complete 2 pull-ups. Here I started off with a 25-pound weight. I felt pretty confident, so I bumped it up to a 35-pound plate here, and I go for the 2 pull-ups. And the first pull-up is always like really easy in this exercise. It's actually the second pull-up that you're like, oh man, I'm actually really pumped. And the angle doesn't do me much justice here, but my chin was above the bar, so I'm counting it. And the next pull-up is actually one that I considered myself to fail on, and so I didn't report this weight, I reported 35 pounds. So the first pull-up again looks good. This second pull-up just wasn't there. So unfortunately that didn't count, and we're moving on to the next exercise, which is the max hang. So the goal here is to hang with the maximum amount of weight for 7 seconds on, and that is your measurement. So I started off pretty conservatively. I didn't know, my fingers have always been, I think, the weakest part of my climbing. So I started measuring with just 15 pounds. This is 15 pounds with an extra 5 on the other side. So it's a 20-pound weighted hang. And this also felt all right. So I went and added a 25-pound plate to my weight belt and went to try that. I genuinely didn't think I was going to get this weight, but it actually ended up going all right. My last hang, which was actually a fail, was with the 25-pound plate and a 5-pound plate on the other side. I should mention this is on a 20mm hang, so the options were an 18mm, 20mm, 22mm. I had the tension board hang board, which is actually my favorite hang board in any climbing gym. I only got 5 seconds there, I failed, but I chose to do the 20mm edge. This next measurement is actually the measurement that I messed up. So I was supposed to do this exercise with 40 pounds of assistance, and I'm actually doing it with 15 pounds of resistance. So there's a 55-pound gap between what I weigh on this edge and what I should be weighing. The goal here is to just do 7 seconds on, 3 seconds off continuously until you're pumped and you fail. So I think I got about 5 rounds in at this, which I consider to be a pretty big accomplishment, but not the exercise I needed to do, and I'm hoping that the folks over at Lattice Training can still use this data to construct a training plan for me. If not, I'm just gonna have to redo this part of the training. Hey folks, so it's a couple days later. I just wanted to go through and deconstruct sort of my notes from the Lattice training assessment and how I think I did. The first assessment was the hip flexibility, and actually I'm pretty happy with how I did there. So I measured 70 inches from heel to heel, and that's a little bit more than my height, so I'm actually really happy with that. I used to not be so flexible in the hips, and it used to really hurt my climbing. The yoga and stuff that I've been doing recently, stretching that out, has actually helped quite a bit. And so I'm happy to actually see that quantified. After that, there were the pull-ups, the max pull-ups, and I'm actually really happy with how comfortable the first rep looked on all my sets. So even on like the failed set of 40 pounds, I was actually really happy to get the first rep really solidly. And that second rep is really where you got to see that lack of power and me really getting drained. I think a lot of the power endurance training that I'll be doing with the Lattice training plan will help a lot with that. So I hope to see at the end of the assessment, I hope to see a lot better of a second rep to show that, you know, the power can last for more than just one rep of the pull-up. And that moves on to the finger strength. So I was actually not so happy about that because I was hoping to be able to hang for longer or with more weight. Particularly, I didn't think 25 or 30 pounds was actually that much to hold on to compared to my body weight. So I'm really hoping that that is what gets identified as a weakness and what we work on the most. So I've never really done very serious hangboarding or fingerboarding training cycles, and I'm actually excited to see if the training plan will introduce that at all and how that will affect my climbing, and I look forward to doing that. As for the resistance, I didn't really do the exercise so well, so there was this like 55-pound gap or so between what I actually did the exercise at and what I was supposed to do it at. I'm hoping that the folks over at Lattice Training can assess for that and still get some meaningful data out of it. So we'll see how that goes. If not, I'm just gonna have to redo that portion of the assessment again a couple days later, and that's fine. So that's about it for my training plan and my thoughts on it. I just wanted to kind of share those thoughts because the voiceover is pretty short. I'm just like explaining the exercise I'm doing. So if you decide to do this as well, you can kind of understand the thought process behind all of it. So this was just a chance for me to share my thoughts on how I did. I also thought it would be a cool idea to share some of my climbing videos from throughout the week as like an outro. I think this is a cool way for me to film and actually get something out of having created these videos. So that's about it. I hope you liked it. I'd love to see a comment on if you've done any of these training exercises before, or if you've assessed yourself before. So how much can you hold on a 20 mil edge? How long can you hold on a 20 mil edge for? Have you ever tried doing weighted pull-ups, etc., etc.? And that's about it.